Okay, guys, well, welcome to a very, very special episode. I am a little bit of a hype girl of Lauren's. I've been so excited to work with her over the last couple of weeks and months. So we have Lauren Cranmber, who is a registered nurse, an herbalist, and a holistic nutritionist. And she has come in and helped me solve like a big problem that I was having in my business. I really wanted custom blends for my clients and was using a company that I still really like, but working with Lauren has been so much more personalized, so much easier. And so I'm so excited to introduce her to you guys. So, Lauren, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I was looking forward to this, and working with you honestly has been amazing. So your clients are so lucky because you're just so easy to talk to, work with, collaborate with. So it's been a blessing for sure.
Well, thank you. I feel exactly the same way. So tell us, that was a lot of titles, the RN, an herbalist, a holistic nutritionist. So tell us how you got into herbalism and how this really came about for you.
So honestly, it can be a long story, but I really feel like it found me, like I was led to it. And throughout becoming a nurse and then like flowing into the holistic space and nutrition, and honestly, like I had my own like health struggles
Mm.
that led me to more simple and gentle support. So that's kind of a really short way to say, like, that's how I found herbs. But
Mm.
it's so true because, when you are going through things yourself, or even from like when you start off as a nurse, like I started off on a med surg unit, you see everything is thrown at you so fast.
Mm.
And the body sometimes just doesn't need that. It needs the exact opposite. So, what that put has led me to herbs because that is the way I believe. That's my philosophy, like simple, gentle, and supportive.
Amen. I completely agree. I even have, it's very important to me with like my clients not to have them on more than like three or four supplements because it's too overwhelming. Like you said, they just throw everything at you. And it's like definitely in like the allopathic medicine world or like modern
Mhm.
medicine, it's like medication, 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 procedure, procedure. And then sometimes in functional medicine, it can get exactly the same, like, oh, here's 10 supplements. And I
Yeah.
felt like this is so overwhelming. So I completely agree. I felt like these custom blends with you were a way to get the most bang for our buck, the most like targeted, but also the most simple. So I
Hmm.
completely agree. I think that's like, for me, it was like, how can we make this more simple? And because typically people don't need like a huge overhaul, they just need small tweaks.
Yeah,
So,
and absolutely. And something that you just said, the supplement factor too.
mhm,
Like I'm a firm believer in supplements when they're needed.
mhm,
And, that can be helpful. Everything has its place, allopathic medicine, things like that. But
mhm,
some like with this day and age, I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, a
mhm,
lot of people are depleted, a lot of people
mhm.
are stressed out. And the body doesn't need more stress. It needs gentle support. So that statement alone just like that's as a driving factor for
Yeah.
why I love it so much. And plus, honestly, like the nature and the beauty of it is also just like calming in and of itself because it's
Yes.
pretty.
And it is so pretty. My blend from you, like every time I put it in my little teacup, I'm like, this is so pretty because it has like
Right.
the pink and yellow and the green. It just looks, it's so fun too. Like taking a handful of capsules is not really that fun, but when I'm looking
Right.
at this pretty blend and then getting to drink it, and even like as a Christian, I'm like, God created, like He really gave us everything we need. Like to have
Yeah.
pretty flowers that are good for your body is just the neatest thing to me. It's really cool.
Yeah, like we need to utilize that. Like
Yes.
they're capable of certain things. Like we need to pump them up and hype them up more.
Yes. Now, before we started recording, you said that so you started off in med surg, but when you were a nurse, you were actually working in fertility, right? So
Yeah.
do you see, I know this wasn't one of our questions, but I wanted to ask you this. Do
Mhm.
you see like from being in kind of like, and was this like in a fertility clinic setting,
Yes, it was a private practice.
like
Yeah.
a fertility clinic setting to what you do now, doing, similar HTMA and herbal work? What do you find is like the biggest difference in like I guess what you love more and what you find more effective in the space you're in now, which it may be just the simplicity like we were talking about, but if you
Hmm.
if you saw a bigger like when you were working in the fertility clinic, if you thought like what stood out to you as like this could be better.
So I always was very a big like proponent of like before you come into the office, like nutrition,
Mhm.
making sure we're addressing stress. Those kinds of things were always stuff I noticed because all the patients that I work with, and like we would be with patients for years sometimes,
Mhm.
like so we got to really know our patients on a different level. And a lot of them were just so stressed out. And I always wanted to be that person that could help them sort through that, that kind of just like that support person that's not just injecting you, that's also
Mhm.
there with you. But so I always had that inkling to like do that. And now utilizing HTMA and, a more holistic lens, I feel like it's supportive holistically. Like we're
Yeah.
looking at things before, um, like addressing it in a gentle way before you get thrown into the chaos of, having to go through injections and go through the whole IVF and whatnot. Um, and a lot of people kind of miss like skip, not that they're purposely skipping it, but it's
Mhm.
not often there, like the support's not often there.
Yeah.
So being able to touch base with patients or clients before they have to even get there, or alongside the treatments, it just makes the support feel more well-rounded because yes, when
Yes.
they come into the office they're being treated and whatnot, but then they leave and it's like they're just left to their own devices.
Yes, absolutely. I tell my clients that all the time. I think that one of the biggest selling points, besides my custom blends with you now, is I was like, I'm in your back pocket with you. Like,
Right.
I'm doing this with you because I did see that as a huge gap of people are working in with fertility clinics and they don't even see the doctor, or they call and they get a different nurse each time, or they only get the machine. It's like in the in between, there's nobody holding their hand. And that emotional and mental work that goes in that in between is almost more
Vital.
important than the rest of it,
Yeah,
you know? So I completely
100%.
agree. I think that hand holding and just emotional and mental support is so important, which herbs can also help with, which is also really cool.
Yes, absolutely.
So tell us, how do minerals and herbs work together, and why does HTMA make herbal support so much more targeted?
So the way I like to describe it, so like if we were talking about minerals, that would be more so like how the body is responding. And with herbs, it's simply speaking the language that your body's able to hear. So I feel like that's the best way I can
Yeah,
explain
I love
it.
that. I've never heard
Um,
that.
so it really the minerals are vital. I'm not saying that they're not, obviously, but the herbs are definitely a support that your body can understand in a way that sometimes, like we were talking about before, you're throwing a lot of things at something that is already stressed out, that already
Mhm.
is like, I can't handle anymore, I'm overwhelmed, or I'm working on fumes here. Herbs are like the messengers that help your body like send the signals of what it's meant to do itself naturally.
That's so, it's funny. I was just thinking about the conversation we just had about hand holding. To me, it sounds like we were saying it's like herbs are the hand holder for the
Yeah.
mineral so that the body can
Oh, I like that.
actually, they can all work better
Yes.
together.
Yes, I
That
like that a
is really,
lot. That's so true.
yeah, I've never heard it described that way, but I really like that because, I definitely need a lot of education in herbs, but I know that like certain herbs are very mineral rich. Like I know nettle
Yeah.
tea is very mineral
Mhm.
rich, but that's a really interesting take to hear that like your body, it's a language that your body knows how to read. That's really, I love that. I,
Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah,
little bit of a
it's
poet at heart too, so that's very like
same.
pretty
Yeah.
metaphoric to me.
No, but it's true. And, when you're like you were speaking about the mineral rich herbs, like the
Mm,
classics, like nettle, oat straw, alfalfa, things you probably saw a lot in the herbs or the blends
mm-hmm.
that we made for your clients. Um, those are important. And obviously, like, we're HTMA practitioners, like we love minerals and whatnot, but sometimes your body doesn't necessarily want the mineral that moment, but it wants to know like what to do with the minerals it has. So like we're with that statement, the herbs are a way to direct the minerals that are already in your body too. So it's not just providing the minerals, right? It's these little messengers that are helping your body communicate and do what it's supposed to do naturally. So that's where the custom blends come in too,
Yes.
because sure, there's generic like health health teas and like blends and whatnot, but not everybody's going to need the same herbs. You know,
Yeah.
not everybody fits into the same category because their bodies are doing two different things.
Yes, that
We're
was
all
good.
unique.
That
So
was going to be my next question. I was going to say, okay, so we know the herbs like help better communication in the body, which is
yeah.
really important. And I was like, so what keeps someone from buying a generic? Like, talk to us about how those customs, and even like one of the questions we had written down was like, give me an example of how two women with the same fertility struggle might need two different herbs, and this also kind of touches
Yeah.
on like why a custom blend is going to be way more powerful than a generic blend.
So generic blends are awesome. I usually talk when I work with practitioners, I explain like you can have generic blends that you could offer to everybody. They're
Hmm.
more generally safe, if you will,
Hmm.
for people who might have different health backgrounds. But at the same breath, if we are trying to work on addressing symptoms or a common issue, there are going to be nuances there, and if you do have a specific health history, there's nuance. I mean, that's with anything that you do trying to address any health issues. So, and going to the two women, the first thing I thought of was like, for instance, like a short luteal phase. So, say two women have a short luteal phase, but one has a low NAK or a low sodium potassium ratio. They're very depleted. And another woman has high cortisol and their like body is wired. There are two different, completely different like physiologies, but they both have that same short phase. So one is going to need more calming. They're not going to need a push of minerals, but we're going to want to support the body to stay calm and nourished, right? And the other one is going to need more of that mineral address, like that oat straw or nettle oat straw and like alfalfa vibe. And I'm
Yeah.
sure you've heard of like the Nora blend for fertility. Like those are very common because like we want it to be supportive, but with the modifiers that we add into the custom lens, then we're addressing things that could be strictly to that person for that high cortisol or the low NAK. They might need a little bit more of the nettle, or they might need a little bit more of something that's calming, like chamomile, or even rose. Like I love rose because it's utilized a lot, but sometimes it's more warranted in one woman than the other. So it's a different way to look at customs when you're thinking of like custom vitamins, but
Yes.
it is important because we can address things that are more subjective, like what people are going through
Yes.
emotionally. There's just so many ways to perceive what a person needs via herbs.
Yes, I love that. Because I agree. People ask all the time, like, what can I do for low progesterone? And while there are, exactly like you said, there are things that are beneficial for low progesterone kind of across the board. The question is also like, why is your progesterone low? Because why
Right.
your progesterone is low is different than somebody else. And, again, this is why I tell clients and, my audience all the time, when you're taking advice, random advice in Facebook for what worked for Ashley, it may
Right.
not work for you because it's different. And even one of the blends you and I did together, I had a client that, was still grieving the loss of her mother. And so I put
Yes.
that in the description. And I believe she was a low NAK ratio. And a big part of that was
Mm,
grief. And so her blend was different than some of the other low NAKs we did because of why we knew exactly why hers was low. And so I think that's even really
absolutely.
special, and even talking about like the poetry of herbalism, it's like to even be able to address that so specifically is just so special. And again, I think why, people see such good results.
Yeah, you're so right. And kind of tying it back to like even how I got into this, like that feeling like led there, like even in building these women's blends, I feel like the emotional aspect that's being able to be addressed via the herbs or the physiologic minerals, all of it, like I feel like people are led to it the same way
Hmm.
I was before that same reason. It's this gentle, but it's this like it packs a punch in such a gentle way. And I just feel like being feeling that like I led to it is such a huge statement I keep like repeating over in my
Hmm.
head. And the people that I talk to who are doing customs as well, they're just like, I feel like I needed this. Like I feel like this is what I was looking for without even thinking about it, you know?
Yes. Yeah, that was, and that kind of even leads me into the next question is like your favorite part about creating a custom blend. So it's like you're working with practitioners like me, we send you information. Like I could see that being such a special moment of looking
Yeah.
at that information and then looking at like your pretty, even in the background right now, we can see like your pretty shelves with your
Yeah.
herbs and being like, I'm going to create something so wonderful and so beautiful. But like your favorite part of, yeah, creating a custom blend for somebody.
Yeah, I mean, I think a big part, honestly, is introducing, like, I feel like I've went through my own epiphany with all of this, and I feel like this is a big help to get others have their own kind of realization of what support could actually look like that's not so overwhelming.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's fun. It is fun. Like, it's fun to build a blend for somebody that's unique. It's a unique blend, and then it's unique to that person, and they feel seen, and I think
Yeah.
that's important. Um, there's so many things I like about it. I love the beauty in it. And even when I create it, like it's just taking note and slowing down. The
Hmm.
process of it, it's just awesome. And I've really appreciated what it's done for me. And I also do blends for people who are just, that might not be working with a practitioner, but they're looking for something specific. Like, hey, I'm looking for a blend that's maybe support digestion
Hmm.
support. So I communicate with people kind of more on like a general level too of what they're looking for, and then we build the blend that way too. So it's really cool.
It is. It's really neat. And I know I keep saying this and I'm such a girl about it, but they're so pretty too. Like I wish I had my bag beside me so I could hold it up. But even like looking at my bag that has my name on it,
Yeah,
I think even me and another girl that's in my business with me, we're talking about that. The power of having your name on it.
yeah.
Even that like is almost like this, it's a mindset shift of like this was made for me. So like having
Hmm.
this pretty label, I even love, so those of you listening, Lauren does like she gives each blend like a pretty name. And so it's like my blend has my name on it. I know it was handcrafted for me. It has a cute name. It's in a pretty bag. The blend is pretty, like everything about it feels lovely, is that like the best word I can use to describe it. And so I think about how much we know the nervous system impacts fertility. And so yes, yes, you can take supplements and supplements are needed sometimes. And yes, you can take medication and medication's needed sometimes. But what it's doing for my nervous system and my mindset to do this pretty thing over here versus
Hmm.
like just opening a bottle of pills or supplements
Yeah.
or like the whole process is just different. And then when I go back to the core of, what I believe as a practitioner is like it all stems from the nervous system, how much
Mm.
we're really nourishing our nervous system before we even drink the blend. It's just,
Right. Yes.
I think
It's
it's
so
just really neat.
accurate. There's so much like when I am doing all this, like I think of the intention always, like what is the intention of this? Like, and because it matters so much, like when you think about it, like when you're going to the doctor's office and you could have like the smartest doctor in the world, but when they don't have bedside manner and they're not intentional about their words, like that lands differently
Mm-hmm.
for people. So it's the same way like with everything, right? Like and so when you're like that word ritual comes up a lot because it describes what I want this to be. Like I want you to sit down, relax and have your drink if possible, and have your blend because part of it is the appreciation of it as acknowledging like hey, I'm taking a minute out of my day to calm my nervous system, have my tea, know I'm doing something that's supportive for me. And, moving forward with your day, that sets a different tone. So
Mm-hmm.
it really is like a ritual event,
Yes.
where that's part of the care that goes along
Yes.
with it.
And I love too, I think of it as, women in the like that are struggling with fertility are really on this emotional roller
Mm,
coaster. And so they're doing these, like we've talked about, these overwhelming things day to day, whether that be just like habits they're trying to create or medicines they're taking or supplements they're taking or this routine that they're on. And I think, okay, how do we get out of like this really tunnel vision, like trying to like force our body to do something, and how do we turn it into a lifestyle, like a lifestyle habit so that it doesn't feel overwhelming and we're not living in this like constant state of like, what do I do next? What do I do next?
Yeah.
But we're constantly nourishing our body. So even that, like having this, herbal blend that's custom made for what our body is needing feels so much more like a lifestyle change versus like something I'm doing in a vacuum. And it
Yes.
also feels like, to me, this is just me personally, but it also feels like I'm appreciating my body and giving it what it needs versus trying
Mm.
to fix it.
Yes.
I feel like
Yes.
sometimes, again, like just with the way we're looking at things mentally, when I'm taking medication or supplement, sometimes I'm trying to fix the problem. And
Hmm.
especially in fertility, we can feel like our body's broken and we need to fix it when really we just need to, love ourselves a little bit more, a little more nourishment, a little more rest, so it
Yeah.
just feels like more of a like, I love my body and I'm going to give it what it needs, as opposed to like, I'm going to try to force it to be something else.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that too, because that brings up the concept of safety in your body,
Hmm.
like feeling when you are trying to fix like something's broken, like when
Hmm.
you're like that's the mindset, or that's the thoughts you're feeding yourself. And when you're like appreciating or slowing down, and you're kind of reminding your body that, okay, like we're safe, we're okay,
Hmm.
and moving on. And part of, I think, especially in fertility, like you said, like you feel broken when you're not achieving what you want to achieve at that moment. A lot of the women that we work with are usually wanting to be pregnant yesterday. So
Hmm.
we need to remind ourselves to slow down, but also feel safe in our bodies. And I do think that these slow moments, or these appreciative moments, it just flips the script without
Hmm.
being like an active thought of like, I need to think that I'm safe. Like
Yes.
it's a good like soft approach.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. I completely agree. I actually just did a series on Instagram, and it was like 14 days of realizations you need to make and accept if you want to get pregnant naturally in 2026. And
Mhm.
day one was safety comes before pregnancy.
Yeah.
And that one just blew up, which was, interesting to me. But I think it's because so many women don't know that, haven't been taught that. And I mean, I know when I started in fertility, I didn't even realize that was it. This is 7 years later that I'm like, okay, this is the forefront
Hmm.
of everything we do. And so it can be easily overlooked, or, and most women haven't even heard that or thought about it. So when we do that, when we can do that by drinking a custom blend without, like you said, making a mental note, like, oh, now I feel safe. It's just something our
Right.
body recognizes is really
Yeah.
special in itself. So not only is it getting, herbs that help with communication, minerals, is creating that safety without you actually having to do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so accurate. I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is conversations make me want to go get mine right now and be like, I want
I
to drink
know.
mine right now.
No, I'm just gonna go mix up a blend over here.
Yes. So tell us, what kind of changes do you typically see when your clients get the right support, the right herbal blend? I know even for me, like working with you as a practitioner and having these custom blends make, I've already seen my women just say how much they love it, and
Mhm.
how, and seeing like shifts in their cycles and things like that. But what do you typically see, like when you have someone that has an issue, whether it be fertility or not, and you put them on a custom blend, and you've worked with them long term or a longer period of time, what are you typically seeing?
So I don't see, like, I don't want people to think that when they're trying to, like, going back to that like fixing mentality, like
Hmm.
drastic changes happen quick,
Right.
because that's not the case. That's
Hmm.
not the truth. But like over time, I think what you noted is the fact, like the kind of joy behind it, or that like, okay, I can do this. Like this is totally
Yes.
doable. And it's a change in habits or routine that leads to like long-term success. Um and I think a big one too is kind of like stability, especially if like talking in the fertility realm, women who have come because of their cycle struggles and whatnot, their cycle might become more predictable,
Hmm.
or they start recognizing things that they haven't seen in a while, because like their bodies for like getting back to that balanced state over time, over that consistent use of the ritual
Mm.
and having your herbal blend and just giving your body that gentle support it really needs. So I feel like, yeah, stability is probably a really
Yes.
good word to use for the things I've seen with whether it's fertility or not too, because people start, I've seen people just say like, I literally don't want to use any supplements anymore. Like I feel good. This is part of a routine I can keep up with and
Yeah.
not feel like it's trying to fix something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And like that kind of goes back to the whole like this is a lifestyle thing, not just a fertility vacuum that we're in. So I
yeah,
love that. And I think,
yeah,
and two, to get really real world and like we live in the real world with real things, I think another thing is just how affordable it is compared to a
mm.
lot of
Oh yeah.
supplements and treatments and, a lot of other options. Like I remember when like we met and you were giving me prices and stuff, I was like, what? Like this should be like double this, but it's something that people can definitely afford and keep doing because
Yeah.
there's a lot of products I really like and protocols I like that are more expensive and I think
Mhm.
they're worth the investment and there is a time and place to
Right.
like really invest in bigger ticket things, but I love this because like all the things we've talked about, right? Like how pretty it is, how it creates that safety, how it's custom made for them, all
Yeah.
the things, but it's also just really affordable to do for a long period of time, which
Yeah.
again, we live in the real world where people have budgets and bills, and I think
Yeah.
that's really special in itself.
Yeah, and that was something too when talking about like the stability afterwards. Like most people that I've worked with doing, for instance, like the custom vitamins or doing like a plethora of things because they needed it, it's not necessarily not sustainable just because they don't want to do it, but it is financially a
Hmm.
huge hit. And so I feel like too the stability also comes from that. The
Yes.
the like cost. It's totally doable and it doesn't even feel like you're just like making space for it. Like it's an easy process. So
Yes.
it's not really just doing it itself, but it's also even just from the beginning like okay, this like you're just building me a blend and I'm getting it and it's not expensive and I like to
Yeah.
drink it. Like
Yes.
there's like a flow.
Yeah. I love that because even like in the we think that safety and that nervous system regulation we're talking about comes from so many different avenues, but I think that's so important too because like with the previous company I was using, it was, really great company, you know,
Mhm.
I don't have anything bad to say about
Right.
them, but it was an investment. And so I think it did kind of create this, like, it could create a little bit of a trigger in people because they feel like now they need it,
Hmm.
but how do I afford it for as long as I need it to get results?
Right.
So we take that out of the equation where even, you know, that just buying it is easy, using it is easy and fun. It just, yeah, I just can't say enough good stuff about it. Like I feel like I could
I
go
appreciate
on and on,
that.
go
I'm so
on and
glad.
on. Yes.
There's totally a space for it. And I think too with like the health craze on like social media and there's so much information and there's so
Mm,
much like you need to do this. I'm grateful that I have people like you that
mm,
understand and appreciate the value in that. And there really is the value in obviously a low cost item, but also just the
mm.
value in the product itself,
Yes.
because I really do think that we're just thrown at like we're not doing enough, right? Like we're
Hmm.
not trying hard enough. We're not taking all the supplements. We're not doing all the things. And I just don't subscribe to that most of the time,
Hmm.
like we do really need to slow down. So, and that is the general blanket statement, like just slow down. And
Yes.
that comes into place with, you know, stuff like our health,
Yeah.
it really does. So I
Yeah.
appreciate you feeling the same way.
Yeah. I tell clients that all the time, like, just do less. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
just
going to
stop.
need you to do less. And that it's
Yes,
funny because it is hard. I think
it's
sometimes that's even
hard.
harder for people
Oh yeah,
because it's like, I'll do whatever it takes to get pregnant. And then
right.
I'm like, well, okay, well, will you quit running 6 miles a day and take a
That's
nap
so hard.
instead? And they're
Yeah.
like, no,
But
I don't really want to do that. It is
yeah,
it is
it's
hard because
hard.
we live in a world where we glorify like more and more and more. So
Yeah.
yeah, I love this. Lauren, thank you so, so much for this conversation. I
Thank
loved
you.
every second of this. So tell everybody listening if they want to hear more from you, if they want to shop with you, where can they find you?
So you could find me two places on Instagram. There's Blends by the Shore, and that's more so for my products and my herbal blends and whatnot. My website is blendsbytheshore.com. Or and if you're looking for education, like herbal education or gentle health, you can find me at Nurse by the Shore. So and I'm always open to communication. So questions or just like if you have anything you want to communicate, I'm here for you. So.
Yeah, perfect. And we will have those linked in the show notes for you guys. Thank you for listening. I love you. I will see you next week.